All right, welcome back everyone. Our last lesson for the rocks and minerals unit. You know what that means. Yep, we got a test coming up soon. All right, so what are we going to study in this short lesson? Well, first of all, we know that the Earth's population, it's rapidly increasing. There's more people every day, and they demand energy and resources to survive. At the present time, the primary source of energy are fossil fuels. Fossil fuels include things like coal, oil, natural gas, not plastics and cosmetics. Those are made from fossil fuels. The fossil fuels and most minerals are considered non-renewable. And I'm sure you remember from previous science classes, non-renewable means that they're not made very fast, not fast enough for them to replenish themselves in our lifetimes. So we use them faster than they can form. And in this graph here, you can see the average annual production growth rate versus the date at which currently proven reserves are depleted. And you can see how oil, growth rate 1%. So the production is getting less and less and less. And over time, we're going to run out of this stuff, at least, useful amounts. You can see in the red here, you have natural gas. And then the last source is coal. And you see coal we're going to have for quite a while because there's a lot of it. We produce quite a bit. It's going to last quite a while. But you can see on this list, the oil is the first thing to go. Useful properties for rocks and minerals. Well, everyone here has been on plenty of roads. And they make roads out of stones these days, asphalt, which are tiny rocks that are glued together by tar. Buildings. Besides the steel in the skyscrapers, buildings have lots of stone inside them, whether it be concrete, reinforced concrete, or, for nice, beautiful marble facing or floors. And there's your concrete again. We use minerals for our electronic equipment, building materials. And just think of all that gold and silver. So just about everything not plastic is what minerals are for. And of course, you got the beautiful gemstones. Where would it be without those? So what can humans do in a given geographic area? It often depends on the local bedrock. For instance, where we live, around this area in Fort Plain, New York, we have lots of limestone, lots of shale, but that limestone is a decent rock for farming because it tends to kind of help the soil balance out its pH. Granite and gneisses make great bedrock for building skyscrapers, like in New York City. They're not so good for farming on top of, though. Some igneous and metamorphic bedrock forms very thin soils, like the Adirondack Mountains in New York, so thin that it's really difficult to grow any reasonable amount of crops. And we've designed an entire economy over the years based on minerals. Without them, our lives would look completely different. Imagine no electronics. That's right. Take away your cell phones. Forget they ever existed. And then when you go home from school, no TV to watch, no videos, none of that stuff, no computers, no YouTube. No gemstones? We could all live without that, but it'd just be a less pretty world. If you're writing with pencil right now, you can forget that. I'm sure you're not writing with lead, but you get the idea. Wouldn't have that. Sorry, girls. Cosmetics, often made of minerals. Can't use that anymore, so now you're going to see the real face underneath the makeup. No automobiles, no bicycles, no motorcycles, none of that stuff. It's all made with minerals. The list could go on and on and on. We really do depend on minerals in our lives, and we always have. Now remember, as far as the global distribution of minerals goes, minerals can only be mined where they are. That's just a fact of life. You can't mine everything in the United States, so we literally have to go all around the planet to find the minerals needed to make the materials which make up, for instance, a car. And they're in hard to reach places often. Sometimes they're way out in the middle of nowhere, where it's very cold and inhospitable, or very hot and inhospitable. Now, I know fossil fuels really, as far as the lesson goes, they're not considered minerals, but they are resources, and I think it's important to mention, at least take a look at this pie chart. You can see coal, oil, and natural gas provide most of the world's energy. When you add that up, 40 plus 23 plus 22, let's see, 63, 70, 83, 85% of our energy comes from those three things. Nuclear and renewables, much smaller. You'd think with all those windmills around here that it would be a little bit higher as far as wind power, but nope, only 7% for renewables, including solar and wind and some other things in there. These fossil fuels are non-renewable. That means in our lifetimes they don't replenish, and they will eventually get low enough so that they're very expensive, very difficult for us to purchase. What will we do when they become too scarce to obtain? Interesting question. I just hope we don't run out of all this stuff before we figure out an alternative. Oil consumption around the world. Take a look at the US. Now this is 2009 statistics, and it's slightly different this year. China is probably right up there with the United States, if not surpassing us. But the US, pretty big consumer of oil. China, right up there, very large consumer of oil, as is Japan and Russia and India. So pretty much, countries that either hog the oil or countries that have a lot of people use a lot of it. Try to imagine consuming 84,077,000 barrels of oil a day. That's a lot of oil when you add it all up. Yet the Earth has it quite a bit, but it will run low eventually. So how can we reduce the current usage rate of our natural resources? Well, you guys have heard all these things before. Finding and using alternative energy sources like solar and hydropower. I know they don't make up a large percentage, but they do help on a local level. Wind, geothermal, nuclear, right in there with them. Practice the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. So use less stuff, reduce. Use stuff over again. Reuse it over. And recycle, which we all have to do around here. It's mandatory. And last, replace inefficient technology with superior technology, like the new compact fluorescent light bulbs, which really aren't as good as the new LED light bulbs coming out. And that is about it. I do have a short video I might show you on Hans Rosling on global population if we have time. But for now, we're signing off.